Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Cook, and today I'm going to talk to you about my journey to publishing and writing. For those that don't know me, I'm located from Western North Carolina, and I never thought that I would become a writer or a publisher. If someone had told me 3 years ago that I would be a part of this crazy world of storytelling and sharing other people's stories, I would have laughed in your face. Um, I always aspired to be a writer, and my parents always told me that I would be a writer someday. But I never thought that I would have the patience or the imagination for it, so I never pursued it. Um, it turned out that fate had other things in store for me when decided to work with my aunt, Eva McCall, to publish her two newest novels, Murder on Haight Branch and Button Box. What can I say? My journey with Eva started out when it was a random birthday party up at my grandmother's house. And I know that Eva had been working with trying to publish her books with a couple of different publishers. It wasn't the right time for those books to be published with other people, but I had a lot of faith in those books, even though I had never read them. And so I went up to her that day and I said, if you're willing to dedicate some time and invest a little money, I'm willing to invest some of my time and my experience, and I think we could make something really work. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think it should be done. And so she hesitantly agreed to do it, and so we began with Murder on Haight Branch. It was a 9-month process, and it was difficult. We had to explore the avenues that it took to edit a book. I was very blessed to have that physical book in my hands. This photo you see right here is a picture of me and Eva when we first got our copies of the book, and I apologize for how my hair looked that day. But once I got that book in my hand, I knew that my life would be changed forever, and I was very excited about the journey that we were going to share together. In saying that, we had to create a publishing company in order to publish these books. We didn't want to go through the self-publishing route that a lot of people had went through, so we created a publishing company called Moonshine Press, and we thought that it was going to be a company in name only, that once we published this book, the name would go by the wayside and we would never have anything to do with it again. That turned out not to be the case, because Moonshine Press has published Button Box, which was Eva's book after Murder on Haight Branch, Disciple of the Flames by Tim Muth, our upcoming book, Sometimes A Storyteller's Journey by Deanna Lawrence, and all of my books. It's been great for multiple people, and I know in the future we'll be able to expand the company and include more authors, and hopefully more books from me. The next phase of my publishing and writing career was when I was in my senior year at Western Carolina University, and I was in my public relations campaign class. My project was to celebrate the 125th anniversary of Dillsboro, North Carolina. I knew absolutely nothing about the town, but my teacher had faith that I had the potential to help promote this historical event for that town, along with my classmates. And I wasn't happy with the direction that our project was initially going into. Our initial plan was to organize and host a Heritage Day festival for Dillsboro, and a lot of the merchants playing a part in helping make a little money during the Heritage Day. Um, the town of Dillsboro already had that in motion before we even spoke with them. So our task was going to be pretty limited, and there wouldn't be a whole lot for us to do. And unfortunately, I am an overachiever, and I wanted to go out with with a bang. So, but I couldn't figure out how I wanted that to be done. So I started brainstorming, and the idea occurred to me in the shower, like any of my other harebrained ideas. And I decided that it would be an awesome idea to go into the community collecting stories, whether historical or modern, and put it together in a book to commemorate the 125th anniversary. I took it to my professor, and she fell in love with the idea, and she scrapped the initial project that we were assigned and tasked me and my classmates with producing this book. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not because so many factors were taking place, and we didn't even know if the town of Dillsboro would approve a book like this. But overall, they welcomed the story and the book with open arms, and it took us about 7 months to complete the project, which was the longest project I had ever worked on besides Murder on Haint Branch, and probably more harder than Murder on Haint Branch. We began the writing and researching, and we had a rough draft of the book ready by May of 2014. That was right after I was about to graduate from Western. And then I returned, continued to work with my professor and classmates to ensure that the book was done, printed, and ready for sale during the Heritage Day of Dillsboro. And what can I say? The community has fell in love with the book. I've gotten a lot of compliments about it, and my classmates and I were awarded the WCU Outstanding Student Achievement Award for our writing of A Guide to Historic Dillsboro. The one was a story that I never thought I would write. I had just finished writing A Guide to Historic Dillsboro, and I was just happy that I had published a book. I never thought that I would be able to write anything else again. But I was in Mexico with my family, and I was reading this great novel, which is called Something Like Summer. And it stirred things up inside of me that I didn't know were even possible. I hadn't read a book, and I've read a lot of books, that was able to inspire me and move me the way that book had. And there were times in reading that book that I saw a lot of me in it, and I told myself that if I didn't write a story like that I would never be happy. So once I returned to the States and began writing all of my emotions and thoughts and everything that was going on inside me at the time sort of bled out onto the pages. And within 5 months' time, I had my debut novel, The One, finished. And I didn't even know that I could do something like that and at that fast pace. So once I finished the book and went through the editing and the publishing process, I released it in February of 2015, and it has received a lot of great reviews. But I'm still proud of the book, and I hope in the near future I'll be able to take a look back on it and give it the attention it deserves. Illyria is like any novel that I have written thus far. It is completely fictitious compared to A Guide to Historic Dillsboro, and it's completely out of the box from the one. It combines many different factors. I always like to say that it's sort of like Batman meets Star Wars meets Pokemon meets Game of Thrones, and then all in that you have like meets Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty. I mean, it's got so many different things in it, and the story is so complex that it took me a little bit of time to plan out. Fortunately, and this might sound a little bit crazy, but I've had Illyria in my head ever since I was a child. You know, boys my age were role-playing Batman or Superman or X-Men or something like that. In my mind, I was role-playing this fictitious superhero. And no, Illyria was not the name of the character when I first envisioned him. I have to thank my friend for giving me that name, Illyria. And once he gave it to me, I said, wow, it's so original, and it could mean anything. So I was able to take that name and give it its unique own identity. And it took me 5 months to write, and I think it was even quicker than writing the one. And I think it was so easy for me to write it because it was so much fun, and I had no of my personal feelings in it. It was just fun and fictitious, and I let my imagination run wild. And I am done with the novel. Currently, it is in its editing process, and I am very excited about releasing it in 2016. Can't wait for you all to read it. So those are the 3 books that I have written thus far, and I've also told you about the beginning of my publishing journey with Eva McCall. If you are interested in any of Eva's books, you can look her up at evamccall.com, or if you want to take a look at my books, you can visit me at tylermcook.com. Thanks for watching. Make sure to visit my website at www.tylermcook.com, and also click right here to subscribe to my future videos.